Okay, thank you all for being here this morning. And also thanks to our city manager, to our staff, and to our council members that are here. They're all here today except Nancy DeVetter, who had to work on a special project. And before we really take questions or anything, I would like just to make a brief statement, and that is starting off with probably just over a month ago, we were all working on how we were going to go about planning for our goals and setting objectives. We had a list of activities, and on the list we had things like working on improving our infrastructure, reviewing and updating our disaster planning manual, looking at how to prepare for more beach erosion. The one thing that was not on our list was how to deal with a pandemic worldwide health issue. That was not on our list. And it's obviously an issue that is moving. It's a moving target that changes daily, and we're all, the whole country, the whole world is. We don't have the luxury of time to plan, have a strategic plan in mind on how to deal with this issue. As families and individuals try to wrestle with changing their daily routines and rescheduling their life, as businesses and their employees struggle to remain afloat, the same applies for elected officials. We are being forced to deal with something that we do not have the tools and the resources to do. We're counting on and depending on the instructions that we're given, the information that we're given by our health professionals, by our governors, by our president, all who have declared national emergency, state emergency for the first time ever in Georgia. So we are wrestling with how to address this, but we are listening and we are doing the best that we can with the information that we have that will probably continue to change daily. And we will keep our citizens informed. We will give updates as needed. And we appreciate so much our community who have stood behind us for their patience and for their support, and we ask for their continued support and their cooperation as we continue to drive this incredibly monstrous health issue and try to contain it and try to stop it together. I would like to, at this time, ask our city manager if he has anything he would like to state, or if any of our city council members. By the way, again, I can't thank our city manager and our staff enough for supporting each council member and myself. We all agree that what we have done is the right thing to do at this time. So, Sean?
Y'all need to re-mic.
I'll get closer.
Take a quick pause.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, underneath there?
Yes. Yeah, that was fine. And then we'll just kind of put the ladies right on the podium. People on Facebook.
This little thing. Okay.
Okay, I'll speak up.
There you go. Thank you. I think I got it here. Just not
Complicated as
there. The other one just sort of disappeared. Here we go.
Yeah, I know. Well, be nice to.
Alrighty. Alrighty. Alright, y'all ready? Alright, I'll try to speak up a little bit so the folks on the Facebook live stream can hear me. Is that better, Michelle? Hopefully. Well, I'm sure they'll let me know on the Facebook. All right, so we gave the council a series of options yesterday, everything from closing down Highway 80 to doing nothing. So the options, what we were seeing yesterday was literally thousands of people on the beach yesterday. When we're in a state of emergency, both federal, state, and local, we're seeing people ignore that and come to the island and from all over the state. So that prompted us to take some pretty swift and severe action that we decided on a series of options, like I said. Closing down of Highway 8 is a much more complicated process. It involves multiple jurisdictions, and it takes the coordination with GDOT. We're putting that request into GDOT so we have that option to us if need be, but it takes a day or so to get all that stuff run up the chain of command and get that in place. In the interim time period, Council decided to move forward with the closure of the beach. So the closure of the beach took effect about 10 minutes ago. The police department and the DPW is working on putting signage at every crossover. The police department is on the beach patrolling it in sections along with about 18 members of the Georgia State Patrol. So the process is simple. They will be patrolling the beach, asking people if they're out there, asking them to leave. If they do not leave, they'll be issued a citation. The citation will be a fine of up to $1,000. They won't be arresting anyone if they refuse, but if someone does escalate the situation, get physical with the officer or anything like that, then of course the officer will be forced to protect themselves and place the person under arrest. But this is a citation type situation, and we're going to ask for people to voluntarily cooperate while we do this. So I could take any questions about what this looks like or anything else.
Can you reiterate how much the fine is?
How much is the fine? The fine by state law is up to $1,000. That'll be set by a judge if you were written a citation.
And so, does this include Tybee residents? No one can walk?
It includes everyone. Yes, ma'am. No one is allowed on the beach at this time.
And what about boating in like night?
That's not on the beach. I did tell the police department if someone wants to go to Alley 3, launch a kayak, that's fine. That's not what we're trying to curb here. We're trying to curb is the thousands of people that are coming here from all over the state and not heeding the warnings that are out there.
How serious are you about closing the road? And would that be a serious issue for your own residents?
Like I said, it's complicated. It would be we're looking at a potential of a restricted access, not unlike what they've done at the Outer Banks in North Carolina. But again, we haven't decided to do that. We're just putting the mechanism in place to have that option if we need to restrict access to just residents or property owners and business owners.
Do you feel we needed some more direction from the state regarding whether we should get it closer?
Well, you know, as a local official, you always hope that you always look to the state for direction. The governor decided not to allow the local jurisdictions to make those decisions on their own. That came out yesterday, just as we were discussing this possibility yesterday. The governor was having a press conference stating just that he's not going to require any of this stuff to be done. He's going to leave it up to the local officials. Puts these guys in a tough spot. They got to make the hard decision. We have to implement it. We have to tell them, here's your feasible set of options, and this is how we would implement it. And we made a decision yesterday under the emergency rules, and here we are.
You know, a lot of people are saying that the beach is one of the places that it's the easiest to social distance and keep that, and far away from people. So why do you think this really is so?
The people who are saying that didn't see the back river yesterday. You had hundreds of teenagers drinking, underage drinking going on. I had 3 or 4 police officers on duty yesterday. I had thousands of people on the beach. More than half of them were underage, and a lot of them were drinking. And they were in groups of 200 to 300 kids all in one area. So the social distancing was not happening on the beach. There were parts where you saw a couple, in the middle island where typically we have fewer people. But on the south end, the back river and North Beach, that was not the case.
Wouldn't underage drinking on spring break always be an issue? Despite this?
It is typically a smaller issue than what we saw yesterday. What we saw yesterday were mid-June Saturday numbers. We had 9,000 cars on the island yesterday. And that is not a typical March Thursday. Now I want to reiterate, this was a Thursday. Saturday is going to be much nicer than it is today, and that's why we had to act now.
What's been the reaction from business people?
well, I'm sure a lot of them aren't happy about it. I haven't heard directly from the mayor can tell you.
I think we have all received phone calls from our residents, from our businesses, many of whom are very supportive in spite of the fact that it will have an impact on their lives. But we also are hearing from people who are not happy, and we're not happy. All of us are beach people. We're not going to be able to go on the beach either. And it's in the best interest of the health of our citizens and our visitors and those beyond. So yeah, we have heard from people. We've heard lots of ideas that everybody has that they think would work, and unfortunately they don't have all of the information that we have access to. And like Sean said, this is unfortunately, we have to make the tough decisions, the unpopular decision, and the swift decisions to make sure that we are doing everything within our power. And just want to add that the Pier and Pavilion at the south end is under the jurisdiction of Chatham County, and they are working in conjunction with us on closing the pier until further notice. And just to piggyback on what Sean was saying about the behaviors yesterday, unfortunately, seeing young kids jumping off the pier this week with the same spring break situation, we had probably about $100,000 worth of vegetation that we planted to protect our dunes. We had them pulled up. They were all over the beach. So we're in the process of working with our Department of Public Safety, DNR, and volunteers to replant that to the best that we can. So I hope that answered that question. Sure, Jerry.
So, I feel your pain. This is tough. I will say, though, the first time we're ahead of South Carolina in doing so. Right. As a resident, was any thought ever given that we have residents to let us go and do?
Well, Jerry, this is what we're doing right now. That doesn't mean that things won't change in a week or less or more.
Tomorrow?
Or tomorrow. It could have changed tomorrow. But if we did have to close the road, for example, like Sean said, very complicated issue, but in that case, the beach would probably reopen to our, community.
Looking at the pictures from Florida, clearly was out of control. I wasn't here yesterday, but I guess it was the same situation.
I've never seen anything like it. So it was not a decision that was made because we wanted to. We were all horrified that we're going to have to do it. But again, we are very hopeful that this will help. Is there any other questions, or would any of the council like to make a statement?
Can I ask, you met yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Emergency meeting, what was the vote regarding?
It was it was an emergency declaration that the state of Georgia has given to local officials. It was I'm making the decision because I have that authority through the state, but it was a unanimous feeling from the entire council, which makes it so much easier to be able to have that support, not only of the council, but of the staff and many, many of our residents.
And you're saying most of the council is standing behind you and supporting you?
The entire council has, like I said, Nancy DeVetter is the only one who is not presently here. She is supportive and standing behind her fellow council members.
Do you wish that you had more direction from the state regarding beach closure sooner?
Absolutely. It's always easier for elected officials to have directives that are mandated. That's what has happened in South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, California, a lot. But their feeling is we're leaving it to the local officials. They know their community best. We are getting the support of the state, and we appreciate that.
In view of that, since you were basically told you can do what you want, do you feel you should have thought about closing the beach sooner?
We discussed that, but in reality, we didn't feel like that it was the time. yesterday made us relook it. And also knowing that the possibility of schools closing for the summer, having daily influx of young students without any type of kind of like, hey, don't do this or don't do that. We don't have the resources to do that. So yeah, we did. It was something, as Sean said, we thought about closing the road, closing the beach, working with our restaurants and our short-term vacation rentals who, by the way, as you all know, are struggling to just stay afloat and to ride this out. And hopefully soon we will all go back to some form of normalcy. That's our hope. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Is there any time limit? Do you have any time limit that you could revisit this?
Well, we're, again, day by day, we're on alert, we're talking to each other, we're listening to we're observing how this is working, and hopefully we can soon readjust some of the restrictions, or ideally, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could, again, go back to I don't know that we'll ever be able to go back to the life that we had before this event has become the 9/11 of 2020. And it's even worse because it's worldwide and everybody is impacted, the health issue alone. We're seeing numbers rise daily in Georgia and throughout the country and world on those that have been positive, who have gotten positive results, people who are dying. The numbers seem to be escalating and in some cases doubling week to week. So if y'all okay? Y'all want to say anything? Okay.
We got more hospitals already been proven to be effective.
Yeah, I'm sure that you guys have been reporting on the recent positive testing done at Memorial. And as I understand, that was an Effingham County resident. But, there's many others that are waiting to be tested, and that's part of the problem. One of the things that we did, we did we're in the process that we drafted a letter. We haven't sent it at this time, but we did draft a letter to the governor's office asking if Tybee could be considered, based on our location and our population of older citizens and visitors, and our situation with the 2-lane road. We have no medical facilities, we have no doctors. If we could be considered as a community to get mobile testing, if it should come to continue to rise. One of the things I've read recently is there are now FDA approved, at least one FDA approved company that's offering private testing, and that's the whole different issue that I won't get into. But I think it's just an example of how everybody is dealing with restructuring their plans, looking at how they can do their business plan different. So having said that, again, I think we're finished unless you have other questions. And again, we cannot thank the media enough for helping us get the message out and working with us. We really, really appreciate it. And we want to be there for you as you have been and will be for us. Thank you. We are hearing from many of the short-term vacation rentals and hotels and motels that are reaching out to their guests and actually hearing from their guests that they're canceling. A lot of the hotel, a lot of that industry have set new policies in place where they're calling their guests, and some of them are offering, refunds. They are rescheduling, giving gift certificates that will be good for the year. And so many of them are being very proactive, and many of the businesses, Sean may want to mention some of the businesses, restaurants that have voluntarily decided to close and take other actions until further notice. So we're trying to update that list on our cityoftybee.org website so that the public will know. We're also trying to be consistent instead of each of the council members and staff sending out individual social media messages. We're trying to refer people to our City of Tybee Island.org website, Facebook site, so that we can have the same information. We are sharing that site with our social media, but we're not creating our own perspective. Anything else?
Can you clarify why you're closing city lots?
Right. We're closing the parking lots as well because we want to discourage people from coming to the beach. We're just eliminating one more aspect of that. So we're trying to prevent the large groups of people coming to the island who don't need to be here. They aren't heeding the warnings about limiting your travel, staying close to home, and social distancing.
So that's the city lots?
Just city lots, ma'am, yes.
What do you have?
The three big ones, North Beach, 14th Street lot, and then the Strand. We're leaving a part of the Strand open because there are some businesses down there that are still open and there's no other parking. And but I don't think that's really going to be an issue after today, hopefully, as the numbers start to diminish.
Can you clarify what condition you want to try to close 80? I guess if people were not listening to you, right?
That's a complicated question. There are a lot of variables we got to take into consideration. And this whole thing is very fluid right now. As the mayor stated, this afternoon we may be making some different decisions. Wednesday, I didn't think we'd be closing the beach until we saw what happened on Thursday with the numbers we had coming in. So things could change hourly, they could change daily. So I really can't answer the question any way with any accurate information.
One more thing I'd just like to mention, in an effort to help our businesses, we have sent a letter to the governor's office a couple of days ago, actually, beseeching him to consider, since he has unlimited authority, to consider deferring business taxes for restaurants and our bars and our business community at large, so they can immediately have some relief on being able to have a payroll that will help carry their employees over a couple of weeks. So we haven't heard back on that, but we've talked to our legislators who thought it was a good idea, and they were going to back that when they spoke with the governor. So if that happens, I'm sure we'll hear about it from a higher level. But we are trying to do everything we can to help our business community. Barry, I'm sorry. What? Yes, I'm sure that I've read it in the media, and you guys are already on top of it, that the governor's also been asked to look at the insurance disruption clause in the insurance, so that employees can take advantage of that. Okay, thank you again for being here and helping us spread the word. We appreciate it. Hopefully soon there'll be good news. Thank y'all.